Honorable elders, respected relatives, thank you very much for invitation to this conference. I'm very grateful to be here and represent my country, Poland, and Slavic tradition from the Eastern Europe and Middle Europe. I will talk now about some aspects of folk traditional patterns of family life in Slavic traditions, namely in Serbian, in Belarus tradition, and in Polish tradition, in context of language and in context of folk songs, to show how some images, some patterns of familial life, of relation in family, can be seen in culture. First, a little bit about the idea of culture from the one very specific perspective. Namely, Roy Wagner, American anthropologist, in his book, which is very important for contemporary cultural anthropology, book The Invention of Culture, wrote that we can see every culture from the one very specific perspective. Namely, every person in every culture put a question into itself and in reality, what have to be done? What I need to do to be a real human person, to live harmonious life, to have good relation with other beings, not only human, but also not human, gods, ancestors, plants, nature. And therefore, this question and the answer which culture is giving, it is one of the main patterns of life in culture. We can compare these patterns, we can compare the questions which are put in every culture and answers to this question, what I need to do as I am part of some tradition. We can compare these things and then see differences and similarities also. Therefore, we can say also about pattern of human person. In every culture, we can see that human person is depicted in some very specific kind of ontology of the way how culture tells us about the order of being, order of whole reality. In Slavic tradition, we see that some very foundation, some very fundament of this relation between person, between human and other beings, gods, ancestors, nature, is based on analogy. What I mean? It is visible in language. First, I will talk about language and then about our songs. For example, in very important words in our language, mir or rent, we see that whole reality is organized in a very specific way. Mir, it means in Proto-Slavonic language both peace, harmony, but also reality, word. So here we can see some kind of wishful thinking, magical thinking. May the reality be full of mir, full of peace. We have also related words like name of Vedic god Mitra. I think Mir and Mitra, they are very close, and it is something which is worth of research. When we talk about order, about ritual, we use word rend or rendu, obrendu, obrend. It means to put things in a row, in order, in a good place, in a succession of events. So when our ancestors were doing rituals, the main idea is to put everything in the universe in a proper way, in a proper row, due to cosmology, due to gods, due to idea of being analogical to the some pattern which is made by gods in the context of mythology. This word rend, rendu, I think can be compared with Sanskrit rta from Vedas. It is also very interesting in this context. When we say about goodness, we use word dobro, but dobro, it means suitable, appropriate, something that is matching to some other being. So here once more, when we want to say that someone is good, doing some ritual is good, we in fact say that it is analogical. It is to some other being. It have analogy somewhere in the divine. Also, when we use word for a ritual, God, it means to connect, to bring an agreement. So here once more we see connection, we see some kind of thinking in terms of analogy. And this analogical way of thinking in which that what we have to do, I'm once more using these categories of Roy Wagner, these categories of analogy, they can be seen in folklore, where the very basic of every ritual is comparison of a person and divine. And through this comparison in folk songs, we can see some aspect of truth about a person, about a being. For example, in Vedic traditions, which are very important and very rich in Slavic folklore, we can see a very important analogy between a girl and a son. I will now read some ritual songs. For example, when the girl is depicted in folk songs, the people are dancing around her and singing about her beauty. The song is telling us, I did not fall down from the sky, I was born by my mother, and when my mother was giving birth to me, she was looking at the warm sun. In milk she bathed me, therefore I am white and blush, therefore I am so high. Your sun, white face, my blush, white face. When she is standing, the sun is shining. This is from Serbian tradition. Another examples are, for example, from Polish tradition, which I'm representing. A very important regalia of wedding ritual is a wreath made from rue, from very important plant. And this wreath is a symbol of fertility power, which is inside a girl during the wedding ceremony. And our ancestors knew such songs. Oh, my dear wreath from rue, you are shining on my head like sun. So the power of sun is transferred to this rue and make girl as the sun. In many songs, for example, we see that the girl during the wedding ceremony is very sad. Why? She is leaving her family house, and whole ritual is based on her transition to the new house, to the house of her future husband. Therefore, she, in fact, ends a life in the primary family and start totally new life in the new family. And this very sad emotion is also depicted in the image, in such image in which girl is some kind of analogy to sun, which is bathing in the sea, which is full of spirits of dead people. So culture, this tradition, says not only about positive aspects of beauty, of love, but also is some kind of pattern in which person can find harmony in sadness, in these emotions that in popular vision are considered to be bad, but in fact they are also very important in, for example, such contexts like wedding ceremony or burial ceremony also. This analogical thinking is also visible in other aspect of language. The word ludzie in Proto-Slavonic, in Polish language ludzie, it means people. It is derived from Proto-Indo-European word leutho, which means those who are growing like plants. And this idea that people are analogical to plants, to trees, for example, is also very visible in folklore, in which many aspects of human life is depicted in some kind of analogy to life of trees or other plants. And now, because till now I was presenting only some aspects of village culture which is from the past. But to sum up these few elements of our tradition and language, I want to put a question, because we are now here discussing about this, how ancient tradition can be some resolution, can be some answer for today's problems. Our Slavic culture is based on analogy to nature, and our ancestors knew how to live in harmony with this nature, and we see this in facts when we are researching places where they live. We see that they knew how to treat nature in that way to do not destroy it. When we want nowadays continue this tradition of analogy between nature and me, this tradition in which girl is a son and son is a girl, this tradition in which person, human is a tree and tree is a person, how we can do it in context of ecological problems, of destruction of environment in a true way. Is this ancient tradition what the question give this tradition of thinking in analogical way? It is good question for a contemporary time, and this brings us to a very important point in which the tradition culture is not only something from the past, but also something for contemporary time and also for the future, some kind of philosophy for future generation. To sum up, I will once more go back to the thought of philosopher and anthropologist Roy Wagner. Every culture put us question what I have to do in my life, what we have to do as a society. Using knowledge and of ancient traditions, we can now put this question, what we have to do if we want to be still analogy to nature, if we want to be still like a sun, like a tree, and if we want to tree, sun, be like us, also now and in future. Thank you very much.